Hi there, I'm Sue. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to answer the question, what is ConTact CARE Flinchlock Release? So I am a natural therapist. I do body work and I have been a massage therapist for over 30 years, and I've been doing contact care now for coming up 8 years. So contact care is a modality that has originated here in New Zealand, about half an hour from where I currently live at Ngatea. The founder is Dale Speedy and the co-founder is Kim Summers. And contact care works with bone impact sites. It gets results often where other things, nothing else works. And so often with contact care, we end up with people who have been everywhere else who end up, somebody tells us to come and see one of us who do contact care. So I wanted to start this just with a little story that kind of opens your mind up to how different this modality is and some of the results that it gets. So I've had more than one occasion where knee injuries have created really bad constipation long term. And so the first time that I realized that this was a thing was a lady came to me, and she came into my waiting room and she said to me, "I don't know if you can help me." She said, "This sounds really strange." She said, "But I had a fall onto my knee, and since that happened I have been really badly constipated, so I sometimes won't go to the toilet for a couple of weeks. I've been to the doctor, I've had, he gives me laxatives and all this stuff, and nothing helps." And I said to her, well, this was a few years ago, so I was still kind of feeling new to contact care. I said to her, well, all we can do is try and see if it helps. So I did a treatment on her, and I said to her, see how it goes. If you need to come back, give me a yell. I didn't see her, so I didn't know what had happened, and I thought about it off and on. And then one day I had a lady who had booked for an appointment. She came in. By that time I'd moved my business home, and when I went out to the treatment room, she said to me, "I don't know if you remember me," she said, "but I came to you because I had hurt my knee and I was really badly constipated." And I said, "I do remember." I said, "I've often wondered how you went." So she proceeded to tell me that her constipation resolved after that treatment, but she'd had another fall onto that same knee and the constipation had come back. And so that was why she had come back for another treatment. So I treated her again and resolved again. So then I had another situation with someone who's in my extended family who had knee surgery. She also, when she came to visit, and she was really badly constipated, had been for about 6 months since she'd had her surgery. She had been to the doctor again, same deal. She wouldn't go to the toilet for weeks on end. Sometimes she was in quite a bad way. And so I said to her, well, we'll do a treatment and we'll see what happens. And she phoned a couple of weeks later after she'd gone home and said to me that her constipation had changed and she'd gone back to normal. So that's just a little glimpse into some of the weird stuff that happens with people's bodies that contact care can often resolve. So contact care, the basics of it is that we're working with bone impact sites. The theory that Dale Speedy has come up with is that the skeleton is part of the body's self-defense system. And when we have surprise impact to bone in particular, that pressure from that impact stays in the bone and the connective tissue around it changes to support it. And so, I mean, our body, this is how I explain it to my clients, our body its focus is on keeping all of our organs and our brain functioning and our eyes level with the horizon. And so when we have impact to bone and things change in our body and shift, our body might want to move a certain way, but it's also wanting to keep our eyes aligned with the horizon. So that creates pressure on different muscles and tendons and ligaments. And so sometimes that pressure can lead to injury, as in like ruptured Achilles tendons, or rotator cuff injuries, those sorts of things where something's out of balance and things are a little bit too tight. And especially if you're playing sport or doing something, or you have a fall, some kind of accident, that's often when those things happen. So we're working with bone impact sites. what does that feel like to the person on the table? It feels, I've had clients often say to me, oh, this is acupressure, because that's kind of what it feels like, but it's not acupressure, it works completely differently. So it is really gentle and it is really relaxing. I'm often putting quite a lot of pressure on somebody's bone, like if I'm wherever I'm working, but they're not feeling it because those areas are quite often kind of numb and dumb, and the brain isn't connecting with that area of bone the way that it should be. So it's gentle, it's relaxing. I often have people fall asleep. I have people snoring on my table fairly regularly. So it's done fully dressed, and it can be done in whatever your comfort position is. So if your pain means that you can't lie down, ConTact CARE can be done with you sitting up or standing up, wherever you need to be comfortable. Okay, so so the behind it is what Dale has termed skeletal sensory shock, because he's come up with this idea that the skeleton is part of the body's self-defense system. If we have surprise impact bone, the Flinchlock is that response, when you flinch when something hits you. When we touch that area where the impact has been, things will lock up again in the body and not move the way that they should do. It often to us as practitioners feels like a perceived weight, or for me, it affects my body as well. So I've learned over the years to pay attention to that. So as I said, it's part of the body's self-defense system. So when we do these ConTact CARE treatments, what happens is it actually drops pressure out of the body. It drops pressure and creates space, is the way that I look at it. So it allows our body to do what it does naturally and put things back in a more balanced place, because that's what your body wants to do all the time. It's a self-healing organism, and if you give it the opportunity, it will sort itself out. And that's basically what we're doing with ConTact CARE, is dropping the pressure, removing some of those Flinchlocks, and that then allows your body to put things back, lengthen muscle and tendon if it needs to, and the way I see it is it creates space. Like often people will get off the table, especially after their first treatment, and they'll be like, oh my God, I feel so loose, and they'll sleep really well that night, and they just feel really quite different from what they're used to feeling. Sometimes after a treatment, there may be some discomfort for a few days afterwards, and that's because your body's shifting things around. It'll stir things up sometimes muscle and connective tissue needs to lengthen and that sort of thing. And that's just your body doing what it's supposed to do naturally. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. And I always warn my clients when they come for their first treatment that might be the case, because I've been through some, we call it unraveling, and I've been through some really gnarly unraveling myself when I first started having ConTact CARE. But it's your body doing the right thing and sorting stuff out. So I have some thoughts after doing this for 8 years, and because of, I guess, of my history with doing massage and soft tissue work, which is myofascial work, I have some thoughts regarding ConTact CARE and fascia. And because what I noticed after I've been doing ConTact CARE for a little while was that I started to become aware that when I was doing the releases, because you've always got two hands on someone's body when you're doing the releases, and I started to realize that there was often a slight expansion in the tissues under my hands. Very subtle, very, very subtle. And so the question in my mind was, okay, so what is happening there? Is that fascia? Because I might be doing the release up on someone's shoulder blade and I've got my hand on their knee, and I'm feeling an expansion in one or both places. And so my question was, is it fascia? Now, I read a book about fascia a little while ago, written by Ashley Black, who sells Fascia Blasters, and she knows her stuff when it comes to fascia, and her book basically made me realize that is what I'm feeling. So my thoughts is that Dale has discovered a way basically to release or manipulate the fascia via the bone. That's what I think. Other ConTact CARE practitioners might disagree with me, but that's what I think. So to me, it makes sense that it's the fascia, because fascia is basically a system in itself. It's been pretty much ignored by mainstream medicine up until fairly recently. And it's all one thing. So fascia there's 4 different types in the body, but it's all one thing and all connected. And so there is fascia that runs, through your skin, it runs through your organs, supports your organs. That's the fascia that supports your organs inside the abdominal cavity. Fascia it surrounds and runs through the brain and the central nervous system. So it's connected to everything. And so that is my thought, that it's the fascia that's actually facilitating the change with ConTact Care. That's just, and that might change in the future, my view on that, but that's the view that I've come to after doing this for 8 years. So what sort of things can it help with? What can ConTact Care help with? It can help with just about anything, and I've learned to never say no if somebody wants to try it for something. So pain and injury and migraines and concussions, coordination and balance problems, breathing issues, mental shock and trauma, emotional issues. I've worked and got some good results with brain injury. So all sorts of things, and ConTact Care can be done on anyone of any age, right from birth right through. What I've found with elderly people who are not in a very good way with their health, ConTact Care often really gives them a boost. So they might be, coming in there and they're just not good. They're not moving well, not walking well, even in pain. And sometimes you can't get rid of all that pain for them, but it gives them a boost. I've had elderly clients who've come in a really bad way, and when they come back the next time, they're like, well, I've been out gardening and I've been doing this and doing that, and it it helps with emotional stuff. I've had a client just recently who's come for a shoulder injury after her first treatment. When she came back, she said, can this help with the mental side of things? And I said, yeah, it can sometimes. And she said, she goes, I've been doing things that I've been going to do for ages and just couldn't, because I've been, she's obviously been depressed or something, in a funk, couldn't get myself out of doing it, and now she's doing them. And that continued as she came for subsequent treatments to get her shoulder sorted. So a couple more stories. That particular lady, she'd had a shoulder injury for 6 years. She'd been to physio and all sorts of stuff, couldn't get any resolution. Her shoulder is now pretty much sorted, and because she'd gone into a job where she was doing fairly manual work, and so it was really bothering her. She was living on anti-inflammatories and painkillers and stuff, and no more painkillers. She's off all of those, and her shoulder is pretty much all good. So she may be coming back for one more treatment, but I told her to give her a month and see how it goes. Another really interesting story that happened not long after I started doing ConTact Care that made me realise how much concussions can affect people was an elderly lady that was referred to me. She had really bad sciatica and had it for about 6 months. She was using a walking stick. She could not get comfortable anywhere. She was in so much pain with the sciatica. So she would have been probably in her late 70s, I think, when I saw her. She came and she had 2 treatments before Christmas, and I said to her, I'm going to try and get you off that walking stick by Christmas. So she had 2 treatments before Christmas. She was booked in for another one when I was reopening, the day or two after I reopened in the new year. And when I went out to the waiting room and she was sitting out there, and she said to me, she said, you nearly had me off my walking stick. And she said, and then I had another one of my falls. And I said to her, what do you mean another one of your falls? Because she showed me this knee that was black and swollen. And she said, well, I've been having these falls for, I can't remember how many years, 2 or 3 years, say. And she said, and it just happens, and I don't know it's going to happen, and by the time I realise it's happening, it's too late. She said, I'll just be doing something, and next thing I'm falling. And she said, the doctor makes me feel like an idiot. He's telling me I'm wearing the wrong shoes. I said to her, he probably thinks you've got a drinking problem. But I said to her, okay, so I said, come on in. I said, I'm going to test you for concussion. So I tested her for concussion, and the result was marked, like something I'd never seen. So one of the ways that we test is, do we get someone to stand against the wall or in the corner with their ankles together and then close their eyes. And they're not allowed to lean on the wall, they've got to be away from the wall. So close their eyes and then slowly raise their arms out in front of them. Now, if somebody's got a bit of a concussion there, they'll quite often be wobble, they will have trouble keeping their balance, even before they start moving their arms often. And so I put her in the corner, I had a corner in that room, and when I said to her I wanted her to close her eyes, I could see the look of fear in her face. She instinctively knew what was going to happen, not consciously, but instinctively. And I said to her, it's all right, I'll catch you. And so anyway, she closed her eyes, and as soon as her eyelids connected, she fell so fast to one side that I almost missed her. And I just got her. And I was like, whoa, okay. I said, do that again. So she stood up, ankles together, did it again, and she fell again, same direction. And it was the direction the side that her knee was swollen. So it was the knee that she landed on. I said to her, have all your falls been to that side? And she said, oh, I think so. She couldn't remember. But she had been in hospital with broken bones and things from these falls. And so I treated her for concussion that day. She had messed up her sciatica again with the fall. And so she came back for, I don't know, another 4 or 5 treatments, I think, all up. And got her sciatica sorted out. And she said to me the week after her first treatment, she said, it might sound strange, she goes, but I feel steadier on my feet. And I said, good. And she didn't have any more of those falls. She passed away, I think, last year, but she didn't have any more of those falls. So that was a concussion she didn't even know she had that was messing her up. And, you know, potentially she would have ended up with a broken hip or something and ended up in hospital and ended up going to an earlier grave than she needed to. So that case really made me realise what sort of bizarre things concussions can actually cause. Another lady that I had come was a lady who had migraines every day for 18 years. So she had a hysterectomy and migraines kicked off, and that was it. She just had them every day. And so she was seeing a specialist every 3 months, and she was on a lot of really potent and addictive medication so that she could function, because in her life she needed to continue working. She was looking after elderly parents, and so she couldn't stop. She had to keep going. So she was on all these medications and that so she could function. She also had 2 frozen shoulders when she came, but she came for the migraines. So we did her first treatment for the migraines, and the next week when she came back, she said to me, this is really weird. She said, I haven't had any migraines. She said, I've got a funny headache, but not the migraine, not what I normally have. I was like, good. So we did some treatments on her. I can't remember how many it was. It might have been a half a dozen. The average with ConTact CARE is 1 to 4 treatments to resolve something. But when there's multiple things going on, sometimes it'll take a bit longer. So yeah, it just depends. But the average is probably 2 or 3 treatments. A lot of ones. A lot of people will get results. You know, if they've got a bit of a sore back, they'll get a result with 1 treatment. It just depends. But yeah, so we did her treatments, and then I didn't see her for probably about 18 months. And then I bumped into her one day in the car park at the supermarket, and she said to me, I'm off all my medications. She said, everything's just completely different. She said, I have still got one shoulder still a bit funny. She said, I might have to come back to you one day, but I have never seen her, so obviously it wasn't that bad. And so yeah, her migraines were gone. So this is the sort of thing that ConTact CARE can help with. Now it's, you know, nothing's 100%, but in my work I see probably 90% that over 90% that I can help or resolve completely. So so if you're thinking about ConTact CARE, if somebody has mentioned it to you, if you've come across, you know, my website or other information and you're looking for something to help you, I would really suggest, especially if you're in New Zealand, there's a lot of ConTact CARE practitioners around, to find someone to go to. And if you're in this local area, feel free to book online or flick me a text. Okay, so that is ConTact CARE. I think that's it. If you've got any questions or comments, fire away below. And if you like this information, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I will talk to you again another day. Bye for now.